Hello there! Thanks so much for joining us for the Long Comics Book Club, a bi-weekly podcast about long comics, also known as manga and graphic novels. My name is Shane, and I'm the older brother. I'm joined by Spence, the younger brother. How's it going, Spence?
Things are going well. Things are good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm very busy. Lots happening, but still glad to find some time to read a brand new manga and then talk about it. So happy
Mm.
to find some time to make this happen. And if you're new to the show, thanks for joining us. So for the first half of the show, we'll be talking about the long comic we read over the past 2 weeks. Today, that is Kagurabachi. Maybe it's Kagurabachi.
Kagurabachi. Kagurabachi.
Kagurabachi. We will do our best to pronounce it properly and
Uh,
consistently through the
no
episode,
guarantees,
but
though.
no promises. So we're going to be talking about Kagurabachi, which is story and art by Takeru Hokuzono. We'll give our reactions, takeaways, discussion points, book club things. And for the second part of the show, we'll be chatting about some of the other visual media we've consumed recently. To make sure you avoid spoilers, we'll include time codes in the episode description. And of course, we'll then end the show with Spence introducing the long comic for the next podcast, which will come out on May 10th. To be notified of when the podcast is out, you can follow our Blue Sky or Instagram at Long Comics Book Club. On that page, you can also find a link to our Discord to join in the conversation, and we have all of these links on our link tree. One of those links is to VesperiaComics.com, because Spence, of course, is the owner and proprietor of Vesperia Comics, not just an online store, but physically located at 1935 West Broadway in Vancouver, British Columbia. Spence, any updates from the shop?
I guess my thing I was most excited for today was we got our copy of Batman versus Elmer Fudd came in.
I wasn't aware that this was a crossover.
Yeah, it's a crossover that actually did twice. So this is like the compilation of both Batman versus Elmer Fudd stories.
Wow. Are
Yeah.
these recent crossovers or
Yeah. Like the book just came out like last week or
okay.
whatever like that. But that came in. That was the big exciting one today.
Is it comedy? It has to be comedy. They're not taking
I, I
it
ass-
seriously.
it must. I assume so.
Batman.
It's also well, that's more Porky Pig than
Oh,
Elmer.
that's Porky, right?
Elmer Fudd would be talking like Yeah, God, I can't even do it. But yeah, it's like sealed. It's like a sealed hardcover, so I can't like read it. I
Oh
actually would have
no.
to. Yeah,
So you
it
don't know
has to
who
maintain a
wins.
mystery of what's exactly inside of
Yeah.
it.
Oh, that Batman. Oh, I'm gonna catch that wascally Batman.
Exactly.
Got it. We got there. It would be fun to have a Batman versus Porky Pig. Nevertheless, if that's something, maybe if you're the one that purchases Batman versus Elmer Fudd, please report back.
Let
Message
us know
us.
how it is.
Yeah, let us know how it is. Let us know what happens. The people need to know. And of course, also at Vesperia Comics, you can find all of your long comic needs, including the comic we are talking about today, the manga we are talking about today, Kagurabachi. So this is the point where we give trigger warnings. Just a heads up, Kagurabachi is bloody. There's some blood going on. So
Oh, is it ever violent?
blood and violence is this week's trigger warnings. So if those are things that you find upsetting, please avoid this book. And if you haven't read the book yet and you want to avoid spoilers, this is your time to look at the time codes and jump ahead. But if you haven't read the book and want to listen anyways, that's also excellent. And maybe this conversation will help you decide if it's worth picking up. So Spence, kicking us off, why did you choose this for a long comic of the past 2 weeks?
So, because this is basically so this was as I mentioned last time, this is kind of unique in that this is actually both of our first time reading it. I hadn't read it yet when I recommended it, and it was just because it's absolutely like being treated as like the next big thing from Shonen Jump. For those not in the know, Shonen Jump is the manga magazine out of Japan that like the biggest, best stuff come out of. Well, not necessarily the best, the most popular stuff comes out of Shonen Jump. So like from Dragon Ball, Naruto, classically, all the way to like Chainsaw Man and
Demon Slayer,
Demon Slayer,
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Spy Family, like an insane Doctor Stone, an insane amount of like some of the most famous anime. and manga come out of Shonen Jump. So it was like this is the one that just started out. There's only the first two volumes have been really translated into English, with the third coming out will come out like a week after. This is supposed to like a week after this episode. The third volume will finally come out in English.
Wow, in early May.
Yeah, early May.
Jeez. So if you want to get on early on what is supposed to be the new hotness, this is the
Yeah,
chance. I'm curious, when you say people are saying this is the next big thing, who are these people?
the
Who,
internet people.
who decides these? How much do we trust the internet people?
Yes, I don't know, because yes, were you also less than enthused by this one?
Yeah, we can get into it. So
Yeah,
Kagurabachi, to give a quick plot synopsis on volume one, uh I don't even remember his name. Sword guy, sword boy. Essentially, Sword Boy has a magical sword that he got from his father, who is a master swordsman. Master swordsman father got murdered by magic people. And now Sword Boy, with his magic sword, is going out to get revenge and reclaim his father's lost magical swords. That was a pretty great off the cusp plot
yeah,
summary.
and honestly fits it pretty well. Like, dude's got, yeah, that's basically it.
It's pretty
Dude
much
has,
it.
yeah, like it's like a super special magical sword. Like his dad made like the six greatest magical swords to ever magical sword, and then
He made a
but
seventh one
but
that's
yeah,
hidden.
seventh one in secret. So then the six super swords got stolen. So now, what was his name? Chihiro or something like
Sword
that?
Boy. Yeah.
Chihiro Rokuhira. Chihiro Rokuhira, yeah, has the seventh sword to go, and he'll
Mhm,
use that. It's the seventh sword is powered by the goldfish that him and his
mhm.
dad used to raise.
Yeah, which I thought I like that detail. So,
Yeah.
um, it does sound like we're gonna. So first, with my acronym that I came up with last time, so tip cap, we're gonna call back to it each time. So just because we're talking about the title, we can move past this one quickly. So it's the first thing you look at. You see Kagurabachi. That sounds kind of cool. I wonder what this is about. It means it doesn't have a clear meaning. No one knows what it means, which is extremely interesting. Unclear. So I don't really get why that choice is made. Usually manga titles give you some clear indicator. Um, Chainsaw Man is about a chainsaw man. Doctor Stone is about a doctor
Yeah. But
who
then on the other hand, what the heck
invented
the hell does
stone.
bleach mean?
Yeah, the Bleach was the first one I thought of. So that's true. And Bleach is big, the other big sword one. So well played, Kagurabachi. But we're not going to linger on title. It doesn't have any, even in Japanese, people are not locked into what it actually means
Yeah.
yet.
And to be fair, very well could have like it's not probably
Mhm.
too we can't harp on it too much. It's still early. Maybe it eventually.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it explains itself later. But
Yeah.
then the eye initial impact. So this is where it sounds like we might be aligned, which is I don't get the hype. I
Yeah.
don't.
No. Well, I kind of liked the first half. I was kind of getting it.
Mhm,
Like the lead up to like, oh, he's like the back like when we got like the early about the backstory and stuff, it's like, okay, that kind of works. But
mhm.
then when we got into like the more actual and like fighting like the dude with the what do you call those thing bombs? Like the
Oh, the
Doryman bomb,
Daruma, yeah.
Daruma bombs and all that. And it was like kind of like this isn't like we've been here before. It's not that interesting. What does this add?
You have hit exactly what I think is very interesting about reading this and about sort of uh, the introduction of new stories and popular things in general. Because I think that you're hitting it on the nail on the head. This doesn't introduce anything new. Um, I was thinking about it, and this is literally the same system as Demon Slayer. Like if you think about it, Demon Slayer is essentially about these people with swords that have otherworldly powers, and they're fighting against demons who are using demon blood art magic.
Yeah,
This is the same system. It's just
basically. Yeah.
placed into
Except it's the swords that are magic rather than the people themselves. Like, yeah.
but that's a yeah. And so I think that it also you can't really default to just saying, well, isn't everything else just based off something else? Like, no. In this
Yeah.
podcast, we have proven that not to be the case already with Witch Hat Atelier, which
Yeah.
introduced a brand new magical system. And it was super exciting and that was engaging to read. Um,
Yeah.
Everything we've talked about has really introduced even just elements, even just thinking about the Hawkeye story, there was elements in there that were new and
Yeah.
different. Um, but this brought nothing new.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
like the art's really nice
mhm,
and there like the dialogue was appropriately snappy,
mhm.
but it didn't act like yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
where's the hype coming
we
from?
need more than that now. Like it's that's not
Mhm,
good enough.
mhm. What I think it is, and what a lot of stories can get away with and still be really big, is that you see this character and you get to engage with them and learn the world and see them face adversity through what they go through. So I think Jujutsu Kaisen's a great example of that because really Jujutsu is essentially like the perfection of that kind of like action shonen
Yeah.
mystical art.
Which I guess we're gonna end up this is gonna become our entire thing talking about Shonen Jump titles in general currently.
References.
Because
So,
honestly, it's kind of a good example. Because also this I guess this is actually our first Shonen Jump title too.
oh, that's interesting. There you
Yeah.
go. And so, but I also realize it's tricky is we can't give brief plot summaries because I'm sure
Yeah. Or I guess wait, maybe
dozens of
Goodbye
titles.
Eri might have been in like the Shonen Jump online system. Who knows?
Mm,
Whatever.
yeah, but very different. Yeah, Goodbye Eri gets to do its own thing.
Yeah.
That's very different than what we're talking about. But Jujutsu Kaisen and a lot of the really popular Shonen Jump stories are about a character being introduced to a world at base zero stats and then
Yeah.
learning about the world and training and becoming strong so that every fight you feel like is earned. Whereas
Yes.
this one, you have the start, which I agree was it was great introduction, and then you skip 3 years, which I was like, at first I thought that was really cool. I think that's really interesting to skip the inciting incident and to have it instead revealed via flashback. However, I do not like that we skip the training arc. I think that's so important and so
Yeah.
critical. Like, I think when I think of Demon Slayer, I know Demon Slayer isn't everyone's favorite thing, but I love the way that they build up Tanjiro, and he works so hard to earn
Yeah.
his strength, and he's so weak to start. And then so Demon Slayer, I mean, Demon Slayer is great in terms of just like very simple plot of
Yeah. I think
first
Demon Slayer is
family murder.
probably the king of like this is not like the plot is bare bones and simple, but like, oh man, is it cool when things happen in that one?
Exactly. And that's because it feels like it's earned.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
when early on
yeah.
during his training, he cuts that boulder is just peak excellence because he's worked so hard and you can just see that growth. Um, Whereas this, he just starts out great. And so I think that was another issue I had. There was just no worry for him. Um, that he just right away seemed to be like untouchable.
Yeah.
And so there's no stakes. So,
Which I guess maybe we end this one with him finally fighting one of the super swords. So maybe that becomes more in the next volume. But
mhm. But it's a weird plot with ending there. It felt like it was moving way too fast.
yeah,
That
once again, this is 100% pure speculation on my part. I kind of assume he'll probably like I don't know how long the series is gonna go or anything like that, but I get this feeling that like six super swords will be not the end of the series when he's gotten all six of them back.
no, I would assume so. I would hope that
Yeah, I assume that's just like the first arc.
Takeru Hokuzono is already anticipating that, but it did feel like it moved very, very quickly.
Yes.
To be like, especially with like you were saying, the start is slow. The start is nice and sort of building up this relationship and talking about these goldfish, and you can see him and his dad, and that's cool to kind of have that dad goofy character. I always
Yeah.
appreciate when the dads aren't just like silent old men are just not there, but uh, that they're people in their 30s because their dads in their 30s. uh, and so I appreciated that. But then it went way too fast after that, where it's like, okay, now we're later and he meets this random child and then the child almost gets captured, but we find the sorcerer and then we kill that sorcerer. And then he's actually being overseen by this other big boss, and then we already meet the big boss at the end. And I'm like, slow down. It's like the big boss at the end is like the buildup after like 3 volumes or something. Like, goodness. Again, I think it's fair to call back to, I think Witch Hat's the other one we can call back to because our other ones have been one shots. But Witch
Yeah.
Hat is like, she's introduced to the world. She passes the first test and then she goes to a shop and then that's sort of the end of the first volume.
Yeah.
Uh, it's world building, whereas we don't really get world building in this. It's just very bam, bam,
Yeah,
bam,
because
bam.
it's in an interesting like our modern world, but also like wars are still fought with katanas. Like they make a
Yeah.
point of that. So like, huh, not quite our world.
Why? Yeah. Why? Where are the guns at? Why has that decision been made?
Actually, did they even reference guns at any point?
I don't think so. I
No,
know
they
part of it
maybe
is that you're not allowed to have a gun in Japan, just like in general,
yes,
but
but
you
still.
wouldn't be allowed to have a katana, so that doesn't track either. Because I feel like there's been other cases where they just sort of write off, yeah, there's guns around, but they don't do anything because other
Yeah.
people are so
Well,
strong.
it's the classic one is like, oh, we're so much stronger that we like guns aren't even guns aren't even anything when you have the power of kung fu. Like
Yeah,
that level of yeah, like
exactly.
yeah. I think of there's a scene in Street Fighter where one of the characters is a gun and someone else is just like blocking them with the chains on their wrist, all the bullets that are flying at them. It's like that
Love
level
that.
of
Yeah, which I think it would have made more sense in this. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to do it in the present setting. I think it would be really interesting to have it more in the past. Like, why make it present day?
yeah. Which once
Um,
again, maybe there is more of it. Like this is just volume one, and
mhm,
they don't. This is not giving an answer doesn't mean there isn't a good answer. It still
mhm.
could come.
True, we would have to read on,
Yes,
but
but yeah, but you only
well,
but as it's like anytime anyone's like it gets better the second time you watch it, or it gets better later. It's like you got to hook people in at first.
yeah, it's not good enough to say it gets better later. It's no, it
Yeah,
needs to be good enough now. Um, because I don't think I would read the second volume. My interest is not
yeah,
peaked. Um,
yeah.
yeah, like you were mentioning at the start, I'm busy. I don't have too much free time. I'm not gonna commit it into this story that I have very little investment in.
Yes.
Um, Whereas I would read more of Witch Hat. I know actually one of our listeners did start reading more of Witch Hat because
Mhm.
it's a great first volume. It's a
Yeah.
great way to build it in. But yeah, this one doesn't really have anything to catch you. Even the characters. The fact that I couldn't remember Chihiro's name. Um, not I mean, it's a little girl seems funny and interesting and
Yeah.
uses big
She's
words.
and like
Uh,
finding the cute kid seems to be a new like
that's
stepping stone. We
yeah.
blame I think we blame Spy X Family for that
Yeah,
one.
Spike's family's trying to build in introduce
Yeah.
the cute kid. That's funny. But yeah, no one particularly interesting or memorable. They're just sort of all stock characters so far that we've seen before, except maybe the kid. But
Yeah. Or also like his like government friend. Feels like there might be more interesting stuff with him.
at the
But
end, that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe unclear. I think the my favorite character was the dad, and obviously that's relevant. So,
Yeah.
which is too bad. But uh, also the art, like you mentioned, the art's good.
Yeah.
I like the art. It's
Yeah. I'd say it's very good. Like, yeah.
mhm.
It's good, like good panel flow and good big epic, like I'm gonna
Mhm.
sound so stupid trying to say it like this, like big like swishiness to the yeah. Like it's
Mhm.
got yeah, I don't know, swishiness. There you go. That's a word.
Swishiness. That's a technical term, I believe. The swishiness.
Yeah.
It is very traditional in terms of paneling. I don't like certainly there's some larger panels,
Yeah.
but it's all very like 4 panels per page, maybe 3, maybe 1 if they're going crazy. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no sort of like adventurous transition panels or
Yeah.
shadowing within panels. But that's okay. I mean, it puts more emphasis on the story, which again isn't knocking it out of the park, but um, the art's fine to look at. Nothing to write home about, but uh, some cool panel, some blood, some violence, like we mentioned at
Lots,
the start of there.
lots of violence.
Lots of violence.
Yeah, but
Um,
actually, but also like pretty subdued violence, like no gore, blood, but
mm,
yeah,
well, he did crush that guy's foot.
yeah, I guess,
And
but
then they also like shattered that little girl's leg.
yeah, she got better.
Yeah,
But
she healed though.
yeah, but even then, I guess my expectation of gore involves like individually drawn body parts and stuff flying off of stuff,
Mm,
but and nothing like
hmm.
that.
No, that's true. We've already had
Mm.
some exposure to that on this podcast with The Punisher
Yep.
of being the key example
Yep.
in that one. Um, but it is pretty subdued violence, which I imagine Shonen Jump makes you do to some degree. I don't know. I know
Yeah.
Chainsaw Man is pretty gruesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, is it
Um,
ever? Especially even in the yeah, even in the manga.
Even in the manga. Okay, there you go. Which again calls back to one of our earlier discussions about Shonen Jump being intended for young children.
Yeah, which is it's well, not young children. It's intended for children, like middle school children.
Yeah,
So
which yeah,
like
parents caution.
10 to 14-year-old.
Yeah, careful with what you find in there.
Yeah. It's
Pretty
like
funny.
a 10-year-old would probably like this is probably a little much for a 10-year-old, but not like to a problematic degree.
Hmm.
This would be like fun. Like everyone experiences some stuff that's a little over what they probably should be around that age. And like this isn't gonna screw yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the hope, at least. I
Yes.
do we I mean that to get into that conversation about like why is violence normalized as opposed to like sex and recreational drug use, but
Yeah. Oh, if you're talking about recreational drug use in Japan, that is a
that's a
absolute no
hard
go.
no.
Oh,
That's
is it ever a hard no?
true.
I think one of my I can't even remember what it is, but in some random anime, someone had a shirt that instead rather than saying sex, drugs, rock and roll, it says sex, drugs, rock and roll. Because they can't even have the word drugs on in an anime show.
Heaven forbid. It's so funny. So odd. Um, to be adamantly opposed to drugs when you have like one of the most prolific cigarette using nations.
Yep, and alcoholism too.
There
In
you
the developed
go.
world. Not quite
Yeah.
Korea, but coming
Hey,
close.
we'll take our social drugs, but not our
Yeah.
non-government issued taxed drugs.
Yeah.
Uh, Very far sidebar. Something I want to call back to that I had meant to also mention because I realized I talked about how I missed having a training arc, that a training arc isn't necessary for something to be good. I want to make sure to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Because you do have stuff like Dr. Stone you mentioned. He starts out a genius and he doesn't need to
Oh, yeah.
train, and that's still entertaining.
Yeah. But honestly, to be fair, that's
Uh,
another interesting one. One of the I think one of the best parts of Dr. Stone is that eventually like you see this flashback to how hard it was at first for him.
mhm.
Like he
Dr.
didn't
Stone, to give very quick plot synopsis, super hyper genius. Everyone in the world got frozen into stone, and then this super ultra genius wakes
yeah.
up in like the thousands of years later and
Yeah. The
has to reinvent
3,700 years later.
there you go, has to reinvent civilization
Yeah.
from stone, from nothing. So that's where that's coming from. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, you don't. And then I was looking at what the pop top shonen jump manga were, and like something like Shokugeki no Soma, which has a bunch of issues, don't get me wrong, but that was that was very pop.
Oh,
Apparently that was the top one back when it was out at some point. And that's another one
really?
where yeah.
They
Yeah.
must not be counting like One Piece and stuff because there's no way.
No. One Piece is I think One Piece was always on the list, but there was some dips where some other stuff come
Okay.
up. But I just meant that Shokuge, like in that one, sure, it has its own issues. It's about this guy who's an incredible cook, and he goes to cook school, and there's cook battles.
Yeah.
But the main thing being that he also doesn't have to go through training. He's great, but I think it all has to do with if the concept is unique and interesting enough, even if the person's already an expert, it's gonna be popular and have people want to follow it if it's something new and interesting.
Yeah.
So you either
But
have
and it's like going to the class like the original Shonen Jump story. Not actually the original, like original, but the first big Shonen Jump one was Fist of the North Star. And notable about that, do you know Fist of the North Star?
I know it for You're Already Dead,
Yes,
but
exactly. But
that's the
yeah,
only thing I
Kenshiro from
know.
Fist of the North Star is already the most overpowered. It never gets any better throughout. He's always the from panel one. He's as ridiculously overpowered as he is at the end of the series.
Mhm.
So it wasn't really until Dragon Ball that the idea of like growing in power over time.
Oh,
That was
power
Dragon Ball's
scaling.
big in
Wow.
addition to the genre.
Thanks, Dragon Ball. That's an important addition because I
Yeah,
think done properly with that can make sort of any story good. As long as you do
yeah.
your power scaling properly, it makes it good. Um, I guess I was just thinking about, I guess in some ways, maybe this is almost akin to like a superhero book then, where they just start out busted many times, where they're just sort
Yeah.
of strong to start. But again, not doing too many exciting things. So then the last question I have then, what's the point? What's is there any kind of message to this? Do you see any kind of benefit to undertaking reading this story? Like who do you think this is for?
That's a harder question than would have initially.
That you were
Yeah,
expecting.
yeah.
Um,
It's like there's the shonen action genre is a huge part, and this is one of those, I guess. And like, I'll take it over an isekai story. So
it's just a fun to read. Well,
yeah,
there's some good isekai as we've talked
yeah,
about
oh yeah.
before,
But
but
the default.
yeah, this is just a fun to read. Because I don't think that there's a particular moral or point
No, at least not
to
yet.
it.
Once
No,
again, we're doing volume one of who knows. Maybe this will end up being as long as Bleach, and there'll be like 80 volumes of it, and they have a more point of it.
that's
We're,
true.
we're
So
just doing the
chill
first
out,
part, but who
internet
knows?
warriors, before you start coming at us on our keyboard on your keyboards. Spencer's point was great. That this is the first volume. If they was gonna try and do something, they should have at least started part of it in the first volume.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have I mentioned talked about Invincible? I feel like I have.
you have. We talked
Yeah,
about that. I
about
want to
how
say
they don't
last.
show you that Omni-Man, the thing about Omni-Man in the first volume. So it's
Mhm.
like
Yeah, but then, oh
you
yeah,
really,
did you
yeah,
end up? This is a good callback. Did you end up reading the latest release of? Because you were going to see if they had changed it.
yes, they
Uh,
had. They 100%. It is exactly what I thought. The last panel of the first volume now is Omni-Man standing over the dead bodies of the Guardians of the Globe.
there you go.
Yeah.
How nice to have a tie back to one of our earlier episodes. So if you've been wondering about that ever since you listened to one of our previous episodes, now we
Yeah.
have resolution. And if you don't know what we're talking about, now you have to go back and listen to, I think it was the last episode, Superman Red Sun. I think was it Superman Red
Yes.
Sun?
Might have because that would make sense because I would be talking about evil Superman.
Yeah, or I mean, we do seem to run into, or otherwise, I was also watching Invincible, so
Yeah, who knows?
it could have been one of the other. Maybe we're wrong, and you have to listen back even further.
Yeah, or
That's also
maybe you
fine
have to
too.
watch maybe you have to watch the listen to every single thing we've done.
It's cunning. Uh, but all that to say, this one doesn't have that last. Well, it does have the last panel where it's like, now he's gonna fight the Cloud Sword guy. Sure,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. The villain got introduced as this super villain very quickly, and then immediately he's fighting him. I honestly almost wrote off the last chapter because I didn't realize that something was going to happen. I thought it would be like a little bit of slice of life. Let's slow down for a minute. But
Nope.
then nope, right away he's meeting with the villain. I'm like, okay, we're here we go, powering through. But I don't think that it's not. There's no particular moral. There's no particular outward goal that they're trying to achieve. It's just a fun read. If it's the kind of action, if you're looking for an action read, it's not an underdog's. Well, no, it's not an underdog story.
No.
So if you're hoping to cheer for an underdog, this is not the guy for you. Chihiro is not the guy for you. Uh, But I digress. It was fun to try something new that you hadn't read yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting to have both of us having.
exactly. Explore something new because that's
Yeah.
part of what a book club can be sometimes is the books aren't always gonna hit for someone, or maybe it won't hit for either of you. You never know. I mean, it's all about exploring, it's all about reading. It's just exposing yourself to new literature. But it's nice. I feel like I'm starting to form my armchair opinions. I'm starting starting to get to grow out my neck beard and uh my hills I'm willing to die on.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is maybe a dangerous attitude to start to take. But hey, everyone's entitled to their opinions because again,
Yes.
this is our
Yep.
opinion. This is my opinion, Spence's opinion. If you
Yeah.
disagree, that's exciting too.
Yeah. Let honestly, if it gets way better in like I assume so the first three volumes are out, but also like I know Shonen Jump, the online app, is like even farther ahead. So like if it gets like really good in like the equivalent of like volume five, let us know. I don't know if I'll ever read it, but it would be
Just
interesting to know if it does get
yeah,
like way better.
it'd be nice to know.
Yeah.
So to wrap
Yeah.
it
You
up,
know what? I enjoyed it enough that if an anime adaptation ever comes out, I might watch it just to see.
yeah, I might check out the first episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
the
mean,
first episode at least.
as long as they have like Ufotable or Bones or Studio Mappa doing it, then
Go
I'll check
hands.
it
Let's get it
out.
by Go Hands.
Yeah. These are all very great animation
Except
studios.
no, except not Go Hands. Go
Except
Hands is the
not Go Hands.
if you've never watched a Go Hands anime, lucky you. They're like the most. If you've ever wondered if you can get motion sick watching anime, the answer is yes. Watch Go
Oh,
Hands anime to find that out for yourself.
oh man. Okay. I have a comment to that in a second, but that goes into our next part. But before then, if you haven't had a chance to read Kagurabachi before and you're curious about it, check it out. Again, trigger warning, there's blood, there's violence. It's not super graphic, but it's there. There's people getting cut in half. There's blood on the floor and feet being crushed and things happening. So just be aware of that heading into it. And yeah, maybe check it out if it's something that you're like, what are they talking about? Maybe you can find something and why the internet is so the dumbest thing that we might have missed. Uh, but other than that, we'll move into our part two. So, Spence, what other kinds of content have you been enjoying this week? Any movies, TV shows, games, or books that stood out to you?
Oh, actually, I watched Sinners last night.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah, the movie.
And did you go to like a movie
I went
theater?
to a movie theater.
Gasp.
Yes. Well,
Well, I was
watched a 10 o'clock showing of Sinners.
Wow, how was it? The only thing I know nothing about Sinners other than there was a someone online that complained about that there was too much sinning in the movie. And
One would assume.
and they and they weren't being sarcastic.
Yeah.
What is sin? What
So
is
so so it's
Sinners?
so it's the newest one by Ryan Coogler, who did once again, hey, we make no promises we'll ever pronounce anything correctly. Who was the director of Black Panther and Creed.
Hmm.
So this is him like getting to do his like feel like this is like him getting to do his like his first like auteur go out and make a movie like the movie you want to make kind of
He's
thing.
done his big blockbuster, his big
Yeah.
Marvel, his big boxing call back to boxing. It keeps coming up in our
Yeah.
episodes. This is like the fourth call out to boxing. So there you go. If you want to go find out more boxing call outs.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is him. It's basically it's a vampire story set in 1930s Mississippi.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you recommend Sinners? Was it good?
Highly recommended. So it's like
Wow.
doing great at the box office and stuff, and like for good
Uh,
reason. It is a very, very good movie.
it's always exciting to hear when something does well at the box office that isn't like the Minecraft movie or
Yeah.
like the latest Marvel nonsense that because I think the concern with movies is essentially like original content is dead and that you have to either have a giant name attached to it or be based off a series in order to have
Yes.
any chance of
And
succeeding.
one would argue that's still the case. Like Ryan Coogler is a pretty big name in
Oh, there you
Hollywood.
go.
So like honestly, that kind of the name part pretty much still a thing, but like this is
Hmm.
not based on very much not based on anything.
Hmm.
So
I guess we'll take, yeah, I guess I don't mind when it's like a director's name is the reason it pushes it through.
yeah,
So when you have like the latest Christopher Nolan, the
yeah.
Scorsese, uh,
Tarantino.
the Jordan Peele.
Yeah, actually, that's probably the modern era. Jordan Peele's like the number one.
Hmm,
Like, 'cause Quentin
there you
Tarantino's
go.
just not making money movies anymore.
No,
He was the biggest. Or I guess Nolan. It's neither Nolan or Jordan
Nolan or
Peele.
Peele. There you
Yeah.
go. Interesting. But there you go. Cool. If you're, is it horror?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Oh, okay. Hard pass. Horror
Yeah.
is not for me.
Okay. Yeah. So it's also like very much about like music and like American arcana kind of thing.
Hmm. Okay. Well, maybe in the comfort of my home, in my comfort of my own home with the lights on. I'll check out Sinners later on.
Yeah.
Uh, cool. Well, that's cool to hear that you went to a movie theater. How was the movie going experience for you?
Honestly, it's so nice. So I love movie theaters. So great. And then
Wow.
when that light goes out and this movie theater screen goes on, you got nothing else in the world distracts you, just the movie in front of you. It's kind
Are
of perfect.
you insane? Was there no one else in the theater? Was
No,
there no
no,
one?
people are great. Like I've never understood the theory that like granted, I'm not going to the Minecraft movie, so people aren't yelling out chicken jockey. But I've never
Uh,
had a problem with movie theater people in movie theaters. Like,
so
yeah.
I for sure have. It's the worst. People talking, cell phone lights on, loud, constant moving, standing up. I'm also someone that has a really hard time with distraction. So that's probably why I have a hard time hyper focusing. So,
I don't know.
uh,
Well, like, so do I, but also for some reason, movie theaters are like the exception to that.
there you go. Well, that's excellent. I'm glad that that worked for you and that Sinners was good. There you go. What a fun recommendation. What I was going to mention before when you were talking about animation studios that make you, did you say have a
Motion sickness.
give you motion sickness? Um, I'm in the midst of watching season 3 of Mob Psycho 100, which I know I mentioned
Mm.
very early on, but I forgot that I hadn't watched season 3, and then I remembered, so I finally got back to it. And boy, do I love Shigeo and Reagan and Dimple.
Oh yeah.
What a wonderful cast of characters. And again, that's both the combination of um, unique storytelling and incredibly strong characters and character development as well. Well, Shigeo overpowered, extremely, extremely overpowered, and yet you sometimes worry about him because he's like a middle schooler. So you're never fully sure if he's going to be okay. But the reason I don't know if you would remember, but the opening music scene for Mob Psycho 100, uh, I mean, really all of them is just absolutely motion sickness inducing. It's flashing lights, jarring imagery, uh, changing what you're looking at like every single frame, but not in like a regular animation way, but like a hand here, now it's there, now it's a face, now it's a different face, now it's blue,
Mm.
red, green,
Yeah.
which
So,
is very
yeah, almost even more like whatever you call it, the thing that Porygon ruined all the children for, and uh,
epileptic seizures.
the epileptic. That's the word I was looking for.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Spence is referring to is that there's a famous episode of Pokemon early on. Was it Porygon? Yeah, it
Yeah,
might have been.
famous. It's the Porygon episode. Like the actually people on the internet will tell you it's actually Pikachu who caused the flashing, but Porygon's the one who got all the blame.
There you go for Porygon. But this episode of Pokemon came out and caused, yeah, bunch of seizures all
Yeah,
across Japan because it
like
was
I think it
just
was something like
flashing
700 seizures
wild,
across Japan,
terrifying.
or like 700
Just
levels of like had to be hospitalized due to like whatever.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah. Due to flashing
yeah.
lights.
It is
Um,
one of two episodes that were not dubbed into English.
what was the second one?
It's the one in the Safari Zone where a guy sticks a loaded revolver in Ash's face.
Yikes. Man, anime was different in the 90s. Kid
Oh yeah.
anime, yeah. if you're ever wondering like what's up with those millennials, just look at like what we were allowed to watch, like the content that was present in 90s anime for children was wild. Some of the Dragon Ball scenes,
Oh yeah.
extremely questionable. Um, the fact that like the old man trader is just like a known pervert
Oh
is
yeah. Yeah.
insane. That's just a child's show. But here you go. That's what we got to grow up with. Um, but yeah, Mob Psycho 100, always great. Love season three. Middle schooler with psychic powers in one of the most interesting visual art
Yeah.
for like visual animes. It's
Yeah.
just
But
it does
by the
not.
guy who wrote One Punch Man.
Yes, that's right as well. But anything else? Any games? Anything else that you wanted to chat about?
Um, well, I guess the other one, I've been playing a bunch of Astrobot.
Game of
That's
the
a
year,
game of the
Astrobot.
year, Astrobot. Makes
Wow.
sense. Very good game. Like, not a lot can be said about it other than it's a good game and like, yeah, it's a really good game. And I'm a
Yeah,
big
that's
fan of all the random little like PlayStation Easter eggs.
yeah, well, at least I think that maybe it's like the theme of the episode, this one. It's like if you're gonna do something, just even if it's not new, just do it well.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think my understanding is Astrobot didn't introduce anything new. It's just like
No, it's a really
just
good 3D
good.
platformer. It
Yeah.
looks really nice. It's got like the fun little all your bots, or it's loaded with references to old PlayStation games, which is a fun little theming to
Mm,
it. And yeah, it looks really it's really like clean looking and like really yeah. That's
mm.
it's just a really good game.
There you go. Shout out to Astrobot.
Yeah.
The last thing I was going to mention is just that I'm almost done The Residence on Netflix. Have you heard of The Residence?
No, I have not.
Ooh, it's good. It's fun. It's an 8-part series on Netflix, hour-long episodes. And it's a murder mystery
Oh.
set in the White House.
Oh.
So it's during the Australia and American state dinner.
Some
The the head of staff is murdered.
chief
And
of staff?
so the chief of, well, no, because it's about the living quarters of the White House.
Okay. Yeah, I don't actually
Um,
know the
Chief Usher, that's the
chief
name.
usher.
Yeah,
Chief
the
of staff
Chief
is a
Usher.
word they used in 24. So that's about the extent
There,
of my understanding
there
of
you
it.
go. Yeah, that's more of a, like a government position. Where this
Yeah.
is interesting because it's not a government position. It's
Right.
like it's a chief. It's essentially like
Just yeah,
a
someone who
butler.
works in the White House, but isn't
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So it's very funny, very fun.
Okay.
A good mystery is always great.
Yeah.
Again, it's just one of those things that is it introducing anything new? Not in particular, but it's a super interesting setting to do it in the White House. And then you also have all these big, you have like also Giancarlo is the
Okay.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
He's he's the chief usher.
Oh, so he's the one who gets
Uh,
murdered.
he's the one that gets murdered, but obviously there's still like lots of flashbacks with
Yeah, yeah.
him and yeah, but yeah, he's in there and he's always great. He's not a villain.
That's
Shocking. Way to go,
nice. This
Giancarlo.
guy does
Thank
have
you.
range despite everything. Mandalorian, boys, Breaking
Yeah,
Bad, all the siding. He's going to be that exact.
it's true. He
Far
also has
Cry.
a crazy interesting backstory. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, but about how like he was like basically going to give up on like throw himself in front of a bus so his kids could get the insurance company right before he got
And then he got
cat.
guest on Breaking Bad, and now
Yeah.
he's like a B, if not A-list actor.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like,
he's like an A-list character actor.
yeah, that's
So
a great
like
description. A-list
yeah.
character actor. But uh yeah, he's great in everything he's in. And it's really cool because that's who's the other famous actor that didn't really start acting until like really late.
Alan Rickman. Yeah.
Did Alan Rickman not start acting early?
No, Die Hard's his first role.
That's wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, it's cool when you have actors that sort of start really late. Um, we are also not touching anything related to Snape and
Oh,
that whole
to
situation. I'm not.
don't worry about it. Yeah.
I'm not
Alan
ever
Rickman's
gonna.
great and everything. That's all we need to talk about.
That's all we need to talk. We don't need to talk about the current implications of the Harry Potter franchise, nor
No.
the current direction of the new Harry Potter
Nope.
things, because
Moving on.
boy, society's gonna catch on fire these days. Uh, I digress. So moving on very quickly from that. Yeah, Residence is fun. If you like mysteries, go check it out. It's on Netflix. Um, so then winding down towards the end of the episode, of course, we need to introduce what's next on the reading docket. So Spence, what do the fine folks at home and I get to look forward to reading next?
Okay. So once again, we're back to the Western graphic novels this week, and we will be doing The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore.
Wow, I know the movie.
Yes, prepare to be very surprised or very, I don't even surprised. They're going to be very different. Very
Mm.
different. And maybe you'll see why Alan Moore absolutely despises every movie adaptation of anything he's ever made.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. That's great. Okay, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The
Yeah.
thing that I think was surprising to hear is that apparently people hate the movie, but I remember I loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
So
I think from what I understand, I also haven't seen the movie in 15, 20 years. It's one of those cases of like, oh, this was a lot better when I was 12. Like,
I do remember when I tried to rewatch it in university, I was like, wow, this is way more boring than I remember. But okay, cool. The
yeah.
graphic novel of the League of
Yeah,
Extraordinary
just the first one.
Gentlemen.
So, yeah. Like the original run of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was 2 volumes. We'll just do the first one.
Okay. So it's a two-volume thing, but we'll just do volume one.
Like, actually, I do think actually currently the only way to order to breed them is in both of them in like a big omnibus with both of them. But classically, they were sort of done as 2 volumes. So
Got
just the
it.
first volume.
Okay. We'll do the first volume of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. How exciting. But maybe if we like it well enough, if I like it well enough, I'll also read volume two. Maybe we won't have a Kagurabachi situation and
Yeah.
I'll get roped in. Well, it's super fun. It's the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore. Something I imagine of a graphic novel classic, but
Yes. Very
um,
much.
something that I personally have not read before.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also came out like way later than I realized. It was like a late 90s one. I kind of always assumed it was like um Alan Moore during his like Watchmen heyday, but it's almost like a decade after.
There, wow, who knew? Well, I guess lots of people do. I didn't know that. So I learned something new today.
Yeah.
And so, if you're also excited to read The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, you could order that at VesperiaComics.com for pickup at Vesperia Manga and Comics. If you're in the Lower Mainland, the beautiful British Columbia, or you can also order that for Canada-wide shipping. Of course, we also realize that buying a new book every 2 weeks isn't always financially viable for everyone, so consider inviting a friend to split costs or borrowing the book from a friend or local library if it's available. And that's it for episode number 8 of the Long Comics Book Club. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow our Blue Sky and Instagram for updates, as well as join our Discord to share your thoughts on Kagurabachi or the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in advance of the May 10th podcast. Looking forward to it, and we will talk to you then. Bye bye.
See ya.